What up players, it's Warboss Tay up in this mug. I just finished painting up this Nârik Dreygur model for the Iron Warriors Space Marine Legion. It's supposed to be used in Warhammer 30k, the Horus Heresy game, but you can definitely just use him in your Warhammer 40k games as an Iron Warriors leader, special character, whatever you want. So that's the great thing about these Legion characters. You can use them in the Warhammer 30k game or the Warhammer 40k game. And they're just a great chance to show off your models and your painting and your hobby skills. So I'm gonna just basically show you and walk you through how I painted this guy. And this is not really a tutorial, this is more just a stream of consciousness of how I went about painting him. I'm gonna do an actual full-on tutorial in another video, but just in case you're interested in painting the Iron Warriors, they're a lot of fun. And while we're doing that, I'm gonna be showing off a video of me putting on the transfers, doing the basing, and then painting on the script work on the parchment strips. So the first thing that I did was I primed the model in gray. I would prime it in lead belcher. They have a lead belcher primer spray, Games Workshop does, so that's a good one. Or if you have an A brush, even better, just prime it in any silver color or gray color and then do an airbrush of silver. But I found that using lead belcher is pretty good. It's pretty close and accurate to the paint on lead belcher, so there's no issue there. But it's just as easy if you spray prime your model in any color to do a dry brush of lead belcher. After that's dried, give the whole model a wash of Seraphim Sepia. Seraphim Sepia is a great oily acrylic wash from Games Workshop's range. I've seen other people use Agrax Earthshade. That's also okay. I find that Agrax Earthshade tends to go a little too dark, especially if you are very liberal with the wash and it pools in the recesses. So if you want to just go with a very oily look for your models, especially your Iron Warrior models, I say the safe bet is always Seraphim Sepia. You can darken it if you want to add Agrax Earthshade later. But once you go too dark, you can't brighten back up without repainting. So I always say err on the side of going light and working your way down into the darkness rather than giving it too dark of a wash. All right, once that's ready to go, all nice and dry, just do a light dry brush of lead belcher, and then I would do a fine edge highlight or a very light dry brush of Stormhost Silver or Runefang Steel, whichever one you have. One of the bright silver colors is going to pop out those silver edges really nicely. Now you might hear that there's some traffic going on in the background. I apologize for all of the noise. I'm just sitting here waiting for my lady boss to finish her appointment at the doctor's office, so that's why there's a little bit of car noises outside. Please forgive the noise. All right, the gold trim is done with scale colors, necro gold, my favorite gold color, especially for evil characters or characters who are using old weathered, beaten gold. It's a great base for any kind of chaos gold color, so that's the one that I like to use. Before I get into the hazard stripes, I do have some extra things to paint. He's got a little tabard, it looks like, with a like an embossing or a decoration of like a Grim Reaper skeleton right hanging from his groin plate. So what I do is I painted the entire plate black, and then I use Necro Gold to paint the outline of the skeleton. It looks really great. There is a skull belt buckle that he's got, so I painted that in Rakarth Flesh with a bionic eye, and it looks like a little iron plate bolted onto the right side of the skull. So that stays in lead belcher, but I just paint Rakarth Flesh around to get to the bony bits. And then you've got two long strips of parchment hanging down off of his torso. So both of those are going to be Rakarth Flesh as well. And then the parchment strips have an interesting little cap on the bottom, so those are painted in gold. It's just like a little piece of metal that's holding the bottom of the strip and weighing it down. That's interesting. I've never seen other models with that, so I just painted it in gold to give a separate kind of contrasting color to the strip of parchment. Now then I would go with Wraithbone or if you don't have Wraithbone, just add a little bit of white to your Rakarth flesh to give it a nice highlight, and that is going to use we're going to use that to highlight up the parchment and the skull. Now before you do that, you also want to take your Rakarth flesh and paint his skull, his head, his actual head, and he's got some neural implants on the top of his head, so you can work around that. And he's got like a gas mask thing on his face mask grill, mouth grill. So leave that in silver. Just paint the Rakarth flesh on all the fleshy bits. To give him a very unhealthy look, what I did was paint Rakelin Flesh Shade and then do a spot application of Drakenhof Nightshade for his eyes. You could also do like some Drukai Violet where his skull meets the implants, or around where his head is being clamped into his suit with the metal around his neck area or his face area or the gas mask area. You don't have to go that far. I didn't go too much with it because I didn't want to change the overall tone of his color for his face. And then when you're done with those application of those shades, just paint right back up with Rakarth Flesh Shade. I didn't do his eyes. What I wanted to give him was a very milky, cloudy eye color, because according to his history, his fiction, his fluff, and his lore, he was killed at the Istvan 5 battle, and then he was basically rebuilt. Like his shattered corpse was rebuilt because Perturabo just saw him lying there and was like, well, I'm done with you. And so he was rebuilt by the like Dark Mechanicum kind of force in the Iron Warriors. So that's why his role now is basically like a RoboCop guy that controls the automata, I believe, if what I've been reading is correct. Great fluff, great fiction. So I wanted to give him a very unhealthy, deathly pallor, even more so than other Iron Warriors. And I think I did a pretty good job with it, especially if you go milky white with his eyes and don't give them the little dots for the pupils. You might notice there's also some black on his left shoulder pad there, where I decided to put the Legion symbol, as well as on the center part of his backpack, just for a variation. I tried to base my color scheme here on the Games Workshop, the official artwork and paint job, but there isn't a 360 view of this on the Games Workshop website, and I couldn't really tell how they painted the model, but I did notice that there was this black strip at the center of the backpack, so I decided to go with that. And then I did the hazard stripes in Averland Sunset. I also decided to do Averland Sunset for the backpack he's standing on. I find it interesting, he's not standing on a body, he's just standing on a backpack, as if like his enemy unstrapped their backpack and left it on the ground. Would have been cool if there was an actual like half of a body he was standing on, but oh well. So the backpack I decided to paint in Imperial Fist colors because the Iron Warriors and Imperial Fist are such good friends. So I did Averland Sunset, washed it with Seraphim Sepia, then painted it back up with Averland Sunset, and then highlighted with Iriel Yellow. Whoo, look at that paint job. It looks great up close and personal like that. See, look at what I told you, that Seraphim Sepia tone gives it such a nice reddish brown that isn't too dark, this very oily sheen. And okay, back to, I think that was it. These hazard stripes was like the last thing. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking some very watered down black paint. You could use Abaddon Black, but because I'm a stickler for saving money, I just use a tube of Walmart acrylic that I bought for like $3, and it's gonna last me probably until I retire and I'm old and gray, and then I can hand off the tube of acrylic black paint to my son so he can paint into his old age, and then my grandson can inherit it from there. There's just so much, and you're never gonna need this much. I don't know why anybody pays $8 for a little pot of Abaddon Black that's probably gonna dry out anyways. Go get cheap acrylic paint if you can find it anywhere. Like really, it's so cheap. Thin, watered down lines of text, and then if you find yourself not able to paint in thin lines that you like, just clean it up. Go back with your parchment color, which is Wraithbone or Rakarth Flesh, and some white, and then just tidy up those lines, clean them up, and you should be fine. As you can see, everything looks really dirty and weathered, but I didn't want it to look sloppy. There's a very fine line I like to walk on with my Iron Warriors, where I want them to look oily and tarnished, but I don't want them to look sloppy. And I think I did a pretty good job here. You can also see there's some his knee pads, I forgot to mention, have a gold trim, and then some black paint for the right knee pad, and the left knee pad done like the Games Workshop black and yellow hazard stripes at kind of a vertical diagonal. I've seen other people painting their hazard stripes for their knees either like horizontal straight across, or yeah, I think I also saw them in like a chevron kind of pattern. I decided that the Games Workshop official artwork was just good enough, so I think I went with that. It also contrasts really nicely with the shoulder pad horizontals. All right, you can tell that I had a great time putting on these transfers. I used Microsol and Microset. The transfers themselves are from the Iron Warriors Legion transfer sheet, which I did a review on some videos back, and an application to an entire squad of Space Marines. I love this model. I love the Iron Warriors. It's so funny, when I was getting into painting again, the Iron Warriors weren't really a Legion I was interested in. I was like, they just look like Leadbelcher, and why would I want to paint some like silver evil Space Marines with gold and hazard stripes? Like, that doesn't interest me. But now I'm finding all the nuances in painting this model and this Legion, and I'm just really enjoying it. There you can tell I was talking about that little embossed plate on his groin armor. That's it right there. So you just paint the back in black, and then do Necro Gold for the Grim Reaper. I think it's a Grim Reaper. I don't know what it is. Is it like a, it looks like a, maybe it's the boatman on the river Styx. Is he standing in a boat? I'm on a boat. And then, yeah, it's just really fun to find the nuances. And I'm actually going to try out this method I saw on YouTube and some other places. I think Instagram, I saw some modelers using this, where they take some watered down green stuff, liquid green stuff, and just so you have some texture, and speckle it onto the armor, so it makes the Iron Warriors look like they're actually wearing armor that is cast iron. I think it's absolutely brilliant, and I think on YouTube I saw it on the Grimdark Compendium, and I can't remember the name off the top of my head of the guys who I've seen do it on Instagram, but I think it's a great idea. As somebody who loves using cast iron pans now to cook my food, I think it's hilarious to apply that same sort of bumpy texture to Space Marine armor, which is normally so clean looking, especially on like the iron armor, the Mark III. I think it'll look hilarious on some Mark VI, which is supposed to look sleek and clean and more like modernized. So I had a lot of fun painting this miniature. It's always rewarding to me as an artist, as a miniature painter, when you find something to enjoy, something new, something unexpected in this great hobby. And that's what I hope you have gotten out of this video today. I hope you've gotten some inspiration, some motivation to pick up the brush and get to work on painting your pile of potential. If you did enjoy the video, please let me know with a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want to support my channel, you can check out the links to the Patreon and the Discord. Thanks again for watching. Iron Within, Iron Without.